de directing door Alex Steffen, and you are watching Eclectic Arts Media.
Because of the color green, not a lot of people choose it. I don't know why.
I call it silly little guy work. You get to just show up and have fun and be goofy.
Hi, I'm Jackson, and this is...
I'm Jake Shimobukuro.
Anytime I'm doing anything, he wants to be involved. This is Midnight.
If I can walk out of the ring the way I walked into it, I'm happy.
And that, and I'm like, I made it, I did it, and then I turned the wrong way, you know?
Life's not fair, is it?
I'm just going out meeting everyone dripping with sweat. Hey, who wants a hug? And then I'm singing and I'm going, I'm not all by myself anymore.
Oh, whoa. Whoa.
I know.
You are watching Eclectic Arts Media.
The amount of evenings where I am not at home, I'm in some other theater space, is like almost every single day of the year.
You know, even with editing, I get irritated. I'm like, but I get quite stubborn, you know?
An epic event.
And you're sitting, okay, I believe you. So
I think I forgot your question, but I went on a different path, but it felt great.
And then I got to move on. I don't have time for this.
And I need to keep as much hair as possible because, particularly in Hindley Street, no one's got hair. You'd fit right in, Mark. So
I can't believe it's been that long since we talked. Time flies.
Hello, your ruling cards.
Right. They may be super confused. Like, what is this woman talking about?
Projects with whatever theater I could reach around here, you know.
All right, look, hey, this is Alex Story from Cancer Slug. This is Cancer Slug, and you're watching Eclectic Arts Media. See, I said it right.
Well, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are in the world. I'm Mark Sugiyama from Eclectic Arts Media based here in Seattle, Washington. And thank you so much for joining me on this 14th of February, 2026. So happy Valentine's Day to anyone out there that celebrates it. It's been a minute since I've done a live stream. So I would like to thank my last guest, which was Mary Guthrie. We had a great discussion about her acting career and everything else under the sun. So I really enjoyed talking with Mary. And speaking of which, coming up, it's got no time like the present. So tomorrow is my next scheduled live stream interview with actor BJ Smith. That is scheduled for 7 p.m. Pacific. So I'm looking forward to seeing and talking to BJ tomorrow night. And then on Monday, the 16th at noon Pacific, producer, director, actor Christopher Walters is scheduled to join me. He's a producer on a documentary that's coming out I believe it's this coming Friday, called Artfully United. And it was really interesting about some, what started out as street art, but kind of blossomed into something else. I was really trying to bring peace to down in Los Angeles or the kind of central LA area. And so Christopher's scheduled to join me at noon. And then on the same day, on Monday at 6 p.m. Pacific, actor Ashley, I don't know if it's Blask or Blasky, is scheduled to join me. I've seen her in a few productions around town. So I got 4 live streams in 3 days. And I have an event that I'm going to in person tonight. And I will be doing an on-site interview and a review on Thursday at a production that I need to get ready for because I haven't done any research for it. And there's been a bunch of other things that might be popping up. So if this is your first time on my YouTube channel, if you could do me a huge favor, please hit the subscribe button as well as the notification bell. And if you're over on the Twitch side of things, if you could follow me over there. Anytime during this interview or any interviews that I have in the future, if you would like to ask my guests a question or you have a comment, you can just join the YouTube channel or the Twitch channel, and you should have immediate access to the chat. You'll see the live chat box. Please be aware that I will fold those questions in during the conversation. So if someone's in middle of a thought, like myself or the guest, I will wait till they're finished, obviously, hopefully, and then try to pepper in the questions as they go. So I do see your comments as they're coming in. And also, if you wanting to know what I have specifically coming up, since I kind of have my hands in lots of different areas with the arts, please follow me as Eclectic Arts Media, one word, on Instagram. That's where everything gets posted first, and then some of that migrates over to other social media platforms. And I want to thank a anonymous donor. I know who he is, but he's made several donations to help support the channel. There's a PayPal, me, and a Venmo link in every live stream interview that I do. And this person made a donation, I think this was about a week ago. So that's always nice when I get an email notification. It's like, oh, so-and-so decided to send me some money. And when I see the name, I'm like, because he sent, gosh, I might have been about 6 or maybe 7, 8 donations over the years. And I've never had a conversation with him. So it's just something that he kind of, I think, comes around and sees that I'm still doing what I'm doing, or happens to like a particular interview, makes a donation. This live stream service costs me money every month. So it goes right back into keeping this alive and upgrading equipment and all these kind of things. So it's greatly appreciated, but only if you're in a position to do so. I know what it's like to not have money like right now. So, all righty. My guest today is a fine actor here in the greater Seattle area. I've had the pleasure of seeing him perform several times over the years. He is currently a part of the cast of Love's Labour's Lost by William Shakespeare at the Phoenix Theatre, running through February 22nd. Please welcome to the Eclectic Arts Media virtual studio, Mr. James Lynch. Hi, James.
Hey, Mark, how's it going?
It's going really well. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well.
Awesome. Thank you for taking the time today. I'm really looking forward to learning more about your everything. And so if we could kind of start with, we'll start with the current things and kind of work our way back, and then we'll kind of see where things are at. So tell me more about the show that you're at in the Phoenix, at the Phoenix Theatre right now.
Absolutely. So it's Love's Labour's Lost, Shakespearean comedy. It's the first Shakespeare that the Phoenix has been able to do. And the script was adapted by Tracy Cahill, who's also directed the show. It's a great adaptation. One of the challenging things with Shakespeare is the size of the cast that's needed for most of the shows. And she did a great job of taking this show and leaning into that challenge. So I play Don Adriano de Armado and Boyette, who, if anyone's familiar with the show, they are on stage at the same time at points. And you just kind of lean into it with swapping hats, and it's been an absolute blast. It was a whirlwind of a process. I think one of the shortest rehearsal periods before tech that I've had in a while, but it was a blast. It's an absolutely amazing cast. It's been amazing.
Okay, so when you mentioned that, sometimes both of your characters are on stage at the same time, so you might have to change a hat or change something so people can realize which character's talking to which. Is that something you've done before in the past with other shows?
No, it's something I've seen other productions play with that I've always been really interested in, because it's a lot of fun. It's fun to play with. It's a fun challenge. Because it can't just be a hat, right? You've got to bring something to each character to really help differentiate, and then be able to swap back and forth. It's something I've been wanting. It's something I've always wanted to try doing, and it's been a blast.
Okay. Yeah, when you were mentioning that, I think back to a show that I saw and reviewed in 2018, and the one actor was like literally using those things on a stick, like for a mustache or different lips or whatever, and then changing physical space. And then he also did an accent for one character and a different accent for the other. So then you kind of it was so funny watching them go back and forth. And then they threw another actor into the same thing. So then they were doing like 4 characters at the same time. It was like, oh my gosh, this is so crazy, but I loved it. It was awesome.
That's great.
And you were kind of telling me pre-show, but that you've done a fair share of Shakespeare in your career. So, do you remember the first time you did Shakespeare?
The first time, oh my gosh, I was in the before 4 times. I think the first time I got to perform Shakespeare, not as part of like a class, was Much Ado About Nothing at Second Story Repertory. I was 15 years old and I played the messenger.
Oh, wow. 15 years old. That actually, well, I'll kind of save that question. We'll get into your background in a minute. But what was that experience like, doing Shakespeare at 15 at that theater?
It was amazing. It was absolutely fantastic. I met a lot of great people that I still consider friends to this day. A lot of people that were major mentors in my life at that point. And I mean, it was great getting to see at a young age how theaters operate, right? We learn a bit about it in taking classes, but actually getting to see it in real life was amazing.
Okay, all right. And I was just thought about something that one of the, it may have actually been maybe the first Shakespeare production I ever saw, not as a media person. I just went, I knew somebody in the cast and she says, oh, you should come. So I brought 2 other friends with me. And this was back in like 2008, I want to say. What's it like trying to get Shakespeare, like any play, not just the one that you're doing now or the ones you've done in the past, but trying to get that for like a mainstream audience? It seems like there's always kind of a hard thing to get, like people like, oh, Shakespeare, I don't understand what's going on. I don't know how to interpret this, versus like maybe a more mainstream play. How do you kind of approach that kind of thing?
Well, I mean, a big part of it's going to come to, I mean, you kind of hit one thing on the head right there with the mainstream. There's a reason you see certain shows done so many times, because they're just more in the common thread. But I mean, what it really comes down to is, I think what it really comes down to is the marketing, right? It's about, putting it out there so that people can see what's going on and bringing something to it to help make it more connectable. So like in our production, Tracy has brought in this aspect of, it's very inspired by like Wes Anderson. And we've got all the costumes, everything set up to look like Boy Scout, Girl Scout, Moonrise Kingdom kind of feel, to get people that connection of, okay, this looks more familiar. It's not a bunch of people in puffed up vests, puffed up collars, to get them there and get them, engaged.
Okay, yeah. So that's actually, thank you. That's a really great example of like how the visual will be maybe for somebody like, again, for like myself. Sometimes when I've read Shakespeare, I'm like, it's just going like this. It's going like right over my head. So I kind of need something to kind of be that transitionary piece to kind of get me to go, oh, okay, so this is a little bit more digestible for someone like me that's not well versed in the Shakespeare's productions. Okay. And as I was mentioning to you pre-show, that I've seen you in so many productions at the Phoenix Theater that I can't even count how many they've been. You've been great in all of them. I mean, that's why I wanted to talk to you right now. But what was your first show there? How far back do you go with them?
The first show I did was Twist of the Magi in 2017. Yeah, it was the Christmas show. And I've done, I think my last count put me just over 20 shows with them.
Wow. Okay. And thank you for telling me what that. I kept thinking it was the Gift of the Magi. I said, no, it's not. It's something else. It's Twist of the Magi. Yes. Okay. Yeah. So I just missed you then, because I saw it the next year. They did it again in 2018. That's the one that I saw.
I was in that one too.
You were?
Okay. Yeah, I did the same role.
Okay. So now I know the first show that I saw you perform. Hey, that's cool. I learned something. December 2018. That's the first time I saw James Lynch at the Phoenix. Okay. I just remember the theater was packed, the show that I saw. I was there by myself. I'd never been there before. I started doing what I consider the art side of my media work in May of 2018. So as I mentioned to you earlier, I lived in Edmonds. So I'm like, oh, let me kind of find out who's around here. And I saw, Edmonds Driftwood Players, and I saw the Phoenix. So I reached out to the Phoenix and they put me in for that show. And what I distinctly remember was that I was kind of situated in the seats, basically in front of Melanie's character in that show, and I'm like, who is this lady? Because she was so deadpan and so funny, and I'm like, okay. And don't get me wrong, I liked all the other pieces to it that I remembered, but I'm like, oh, I didn't know what to expect because I don't think I'd been to too many community theater productions at that point. And it was tremendous. I mean, that's why I wanted to keep coming back, and I still try to see at least something, if not a couple things, during each season. So. So does Phoenix kind of have the accolade of being the theater that you've been on their stage the most?
Oh, absolutely. 100%.
Okay. And just since we're on that topic and you mentioned Second Story when you were 15, where else have you performed?
I did a couple shows with Second Story when I was in high school. I've done a couple shows with I did a couple shows with Green Stage before and after college. I did a couple scattered at various others up north, which was I was part of their improv troupe and did Midsummer Night Dream with them just before the pandemic. I was part of the Turbo Turkey improv troupe and did a couple scripted shows with them as well. Yeah, and now I'm trying to think because it's been 8 years since I've been working primarily at the Phoenix, so I think those are the main theaters I've worked with.
Okay, all right. And just for me, just from a curiosity standpoint, since you've done so much work with the Phoenix, and let's say they have another production coming up, in the spring or something, are you to the point where they just ask you, or do you still have to go through the audition process and all that kind of thing?
It depends. There have been a couple times where they've just asked. Typically, I go to the callbacks. That's more, I know the directors know me, so seeing me do a monologue isn't necessarily the most helpful at that point. But callbacks are still a very important part to make sure that everything's going to meld together properly. So generally still callbacks and everything.
Okay. And do you remember before you got to this point, so like maybe it was 2017 at Phoenix, what it was like doing a monologue or doing auditions, or not even just there, but other places as well? Were you someone that monologues were easy to do, or you get really nervous and worked up about it?
Oh, 100% nervous. Every audition, I still get nervous before callbacks at the Phoenix. 100%.
Okay, so that's kind of good to know. I have a music background, so I've talked about that. It doesn't matter how many times I'd played a song, some cover song that we've done maybe 30 times. So before certain songs would come up in the set list, I would look at it like, oh, there's that one.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's like some of them, like the back of your hand, and there's some of them like, oh, I don't feel as comfortable with that tune like I should, and I could sit there and practice and all this kind of thing. And then we get in front of people, I'm like, and I just played in a duo around town, so my singer would be the same way. It's like, Mark, I don't know if I'm feeling this tune tonight. I'm like, I said, I'll look at it, I'm like, oh, if that's what I really wanted to do, then we kind of compromise. But I'm like, typically, that's fine. We'll just knock it out. We'll replace it with something else. And sometimes it'd be the same song. We're both thinking like, yeah, I don't want to do that one tonight. I don't feel like challenging myself and embarrassing myself in front of everybody. But that's also another piece. So like a lot of the shows, for people that aren't familiar with the Phoenix, they do a lot of comedy-based shows, which I love. And so for you, how do you find your comedic timing? Has it kind of changed over the years, or just depends on the project?
I mean, it does. It depends on the project. Depends on a lot of different things. The comedic timing is something that I feel like it really comes down to more art than science, because right, it's in any given moment, it's about feeling it, feeling where it lands, and in some ways the audience impacts that as well, feeling where their vibes are at. I can't say that it's changed over time. I mean, maybe if I was to go back and be able to watch some of my earlier performances, which I would absolutely hate to do and have no intention of ever doing, but maybe I could see some difference. But if there has been a significant change, it's been gradual enough that I wouldn't say I've noticed it.
Okay. And when you're doing, like, say, rehearsals and then tech and that type of thing, how much are you working with not only the director, but your other castmates when it comes to, like, oh, that worked really, really well. What, do that again, in the performances kind of thing? Or is it more like, this is what I'm doing and this is what they're doing, and it's up to the director to kind of figure out what seems to be the best approach?
Oh, it's the best shows are always collaborative like that, where it's, we'll go through a bit and it's like, hey, I had this idea. Would you try this the next time? Check with the director, of course, Matrese. Okay, if we try this, and then it's, that's how you get the best stuff, because everyone's got different perspective, everyone's got different ideas, and it's just all about finding the best ones to come together.
Okay, that makes sense. I talked to an actor. This was, I think, right coming out of the pandemic, and she talked about she had done something during I don't even think it was rehearsal. I think the show was already running and they were maybe working over a certain scene or something, and she hadn't done it that way at all. And the rest of her cast were like, oh, like, do that again. She's kind of like, what did I do? Said, you did this and you stepped over there and then you did this kind of physical comedy thing. And they were like, and she said it stayed in the rest of the show, the rest of the runs.
Yep.
Have you had, I'm sure you have, since you've done so many performances, anything stick out from your memory of where, there's a mishap, something went awry during a show that was particularly memorable?
Yeah, yes. We've had, we've had during the Miss Frankenstein's Monster in the fall this year, we had a set piece prop that was a painting where a piece moved out of the way so someone could come and peek through, and just in the middle of a performance, the piece that he moved just fell off right in the middle. And I think it was, I cannot remember if it was a performance. I think it was a performance. The entire frame and painting also just collapsed onto the stage, and we rolled with it. Keith, with the actor Keith, rolled with. He made comments about, like, falling like Uncle, whatever the name was. But it was just rolled with it. Audience doesn't know that it wasn't supposed to happen. Well, they probably do, but they can roll with it.
I mean, obviously, I don't want to necessarily see that for the performers when things go awry, but as an audience member or as a reviewer, then it's pretty funny. And I had an actor tell me back in, I think it was December of last year, that he was supposed to be, like, tossing something in his non-dominant hand, and so he doesn't have the strength there, and it slipped out of his hand and hit somebody in the audience. And so he just kind of had to kind of improvise and work with it. And then also, once he was not doing his lines, making sure the audience member was okay, and they were laughing about it, thought it was funny. It was not a big deal, but to him, he was mortified that it went out there. Talked about once when part of his costume got stuck in a door, so he literally couldn't move away from his spot, and they're like, I'm stuck in this door, and they had to kind of just work it into the show, basically. That's got to be one of the pluses of being really, talented actors that can just kind of, it's live theater, things happen.
Absolutely.
I started off doing my media outlet covering concerts, reviews and interviews and photography. And then eventually when I started coming to theaters and all this kind of wonderful stuff, that other photographers were wondering what happened to me. And I said, well, I haven't seen you at a show in a long time, Mark. And I'm like, well, I've been covering a bunch of stuff over here. And they're like, why? I still remember that. They're like, why are you going to plays and musicals and opera and all this stuff? And I'm like, it's all live. It's all live on stage, just like a band. And it's one thing that I really grew to really appreciate of what folks like yourselves do, that all the work and rehearsal and tech and also giving up, Friday, Saturday, Sundays and things like that to get on stage and perform and have a passion for it. And that once I explained it that way to some people, some of those guys have actually gone to shows now. So because of me kind of like getting in their ear, it's like, man, here's a great transition show if you've never been to a play, or if you've never been. And Phoenix is actually a really good place for that because of the comedy aspect. I mean, I don't know too many people that don't want to laugh. And you can kind of work yourself into if it's dramatic things or musicals or whatever. But you were kind of telling me before we started that you're basically a Washingtonian, but you're technically born in California.
Yeah.
What got you into acting and the arts in the first place?
So I normally I would say that it is. I started taking classes at the Seattle Children's Theater when I was about 6 years old. I'm not sure exactly what led to that. I know I had done like church pageants and stuff when I was very small. But then I just, I fell in love with it during those classes. I knew from the time I was about 9 or 10 that I was going to major in theater in college. And then, I went from there. I started doing community theater when I was 14 and rode it all the way.
Okay, so in addition to doing community theater when you're a teenager, were you also doing theater like at your high school then too?
I actually homeschooled. I homeschooled all through elementary and high school.
Okay, so that's why. Okay, so then you're doing community theater, and then like you said, you majored in theater at college level. What was that experience like when you're in college? Trying to get that degree as a theater major.
It was good. I mean, it's, I did through the different programs that I was doing with homeschooling in high school. I'd already gotten a lot of my gen ed requirements out of the way doing Running Start. And so, in college, I was able to kind of really focus in on the theater aspects, take the classes I needed to take. But then I was able to end up graduating in 3 years, save some of that money. But it was great. I mean, it was learning a lot of different refinements and techniques. And, one of the most important things with theater, just learning how to work with different people.
Okay. Yeah. That's a good skill to have for anybody. And especially in the arts, because everyone has their own ideas of what they want to do. And it's like, well, maybe that's not the idea that is going to be best for this particular scene or this production. And then you have that whole kind of discussion. But what do you remember, so when you were in college, like you mentioned, and it was 3 years, was your goal to, eventually go to Hollywood and do film and TV, or a bit of anything, or I just want to work in this industry, period, so I'll take whatever, comes my way?
I mean, it was definitely, coming from being a teenager in community theater and having such a great community in Seattle, one of the things that I got told early on was get a day job, right? You're not going to be doing this right out of college and making the living at it. So in college, even I was going at it knowing, nothing's going to be happening with this 100% right away. But just getting to do it and do it the best I can. Another thing that I got, brought up really early was the idea that we don't do theater because we want to. We do it because we have to. And it's, so that's where it comes to, like, is it how I make my living? No. But it's what leads you to what the morbid joke being, but it's what makes me keep wanting, keep going. It's what makes life worth living.
I can relate to that.
Yeah. But so, I mean, I had classmates in college where, as soon as they graduated, they were moving out to New York, moving out to LA. And some of them have found some success out there. But between, the understanding that it's, nothing happens immediately, and just how great the community in Seattle is, I've always been very happy just getting to work here.
Okay. And like you mentioned, I worked with a guy that said, I'm probably going to mess up his quote, but I always liked it. The 9 to 5 pays for the 5 to 9. is what he said. And he was also a concert photographer and all that kind of thing, and clearly has a day job, just like I have a day job. And and you said, you don't want to do theater, you have to do theater, just like I do the same thing. I have to review shows, and I have to be in a photo pit, and it's like basically air to me. If I don't have it, I don't exist. And it's the hard thing, and maybe you found the same thing, is that sometimes you'll come across someone who doesn't have that mentality at all, so they can't relate to you. Like, why do you keep going to these shows? Or why do you have to do this? Why are you giving up this for that? And it's like, man, this is part of, like if you didn't have a heart or a liver or a kidney or whatever, I have to have these things as a part of me. And it's fine if you don't have that, but we're going to have a hard time finding a common ground.
Absolutely.
If you're all numbers and whatever else, it's kind of making you tick, then that's, again, that's different things for different people. But it makes sense that most people in my circle have the same mentality that I do. So, and you're probably similar to that, is my guess.
Absolutely.
And even though with doing all the theater here in the area, have you ever looked into doing like voiceover work here locally, or especially with the internet now, you can do all kinds of things online?
It's definitely something I've always been interested in, especially with things like voice work being able to give you so much more broad of a spectrum of characters you can play, because I don't have to physically represent the character. That's something that's always been very interested. I've always been very interested in.
Okay, yeah, this was many, many years ago, like 25 years now. I used to work as an audio engineer at a computer company, so 80% of my jobs were voiceover work that I had to book, and sometimes it was again. So this was early internet days, but some of the stuff was easy, and sometimes, like if we were working on a project from LA, they would send up all these files, and I would look through the files to make sure we had all the voiceover parts, and then sometimes something was missing. And so it's like, and if it was like a really close deadline, I'd have to pull somebody from within our office who was good with voices, get into the booth real quick. So what do you need me for? I need a baby who's like, a year old trying to mouth something to me in this 5-second part because they didn't send it. So I got to see the talent from people that, were doing it professionally, locally. And then again, other people just have a knack for it, of just all kinds of different things. I don't have that skill whatsoever. I'm just there to record it and enhance it and send it off. But it sure was interesting just from there to see what people do, especially with if they had to do 5 different dialects, and just like, oh my gosh, how do you know all this? Oh, Mark, well, I did this. I've done these projects. And I studied that. I'm like, okay, well, so I'm learning something from you. So, have you ever thought about doing like a podcast or anything of your own?
Not as much. I mean, I like talking, so it's every once in a while I'm like, maybe instead of making my wife listen to me go on diatribes, I could make other people listen. I think she likes that idea a lot.
Okay, all right, yeah. I mean, it's like I've seen, and you're a perfect example, that a lot of the actors have such an interesting background. They speak well, they know how to enunciate words and everything else. And because some of the people that I've interviewed, and there's not a knock against them, but that's just not their background. So if I'm talking to a guitarist, he can tell me all kinds of things about his guitar and his band, but then he can't really maybe enunciate it very well or communicate the idea to me. So I'm trying to pull it out of him. And sometimes it's like, okay, I wish, where are my actors at? But so that kind of brings up a point of, so when you're not on stage and you're not working your day job, what are your other interests? What else are you into?
I'm a pretty dorky guy. I like reading comic books, playing video games, just kind of reading in general.
Okay, all right. And I think I saw something on your social media. Are you getting ready for Comic-Con next month?
Yes, Comic-Con is in just a couple weeks here. Okay.
And so are you somebody that looks at the Thursday through Sunday, like I'm going to be this on Thursday, this on Friday kind of a thing?
Yep, I'm going all 4 days. I kind of usually take it in stride, find what looks interesting, even just hanging out. I know you may have seen him on social media as well. Jacques the Whipper is going to be performing. I'm looking forward to that.
Okay. And do you have Do you have a cosplay kind of background when you figure out your characters that you're going to be?
I mean, background, I wouldn't say. My little sister is a costume designer. She was a costume design major, and she has made a couple costumes for me. She makes her own costumes. Sometimes I'll just find a character that I like. One of the days this year, and I did last year as well, I'm going to be going as the Kingpin from Marvel, and it's just a suit. So it was really easy to just get a suit, and then the day before I'll shave my head and we'll call it good.
Cool. I've only been to Emerald City once, and that was quite a few years ago. But I have been to like Crypticon Seattle. I've been there that multiple times, and that for anyone out there that hasn't been to a convention in their local city, I highly recommend it. Even if you just have a curiosity about it, I think the vibe is really fun. There's so many different things you can kind of see and take in. And I had a +1 that went with me to, I think that was the first year I covered Crypticon Seattle. That was 2012. And she was like getting really nervous because she's not like a big horror fan. And she's like, she thought she was maybe gonna get beat up or something. And I'm like, no, I said, they're just fans of a particular thing that happens to be horror. It's not Star Trek this time, or Star Wars, or anime, or whatever. And I said, just wear, jeans and whatever, t-shirt, whatever, you'll be fine. Because she thought she had to dress like all in black and stuff. And I'm like, so no. And then, but to her, even though I told her all of this stuff, the day we went, she was wearing this like sweatshirt with a teddy bear on it. And I'm like, and she's like, Mark, I'm wearing a teddy bear. Is that okay? And I'm like, again, it's still fine. No one's going to beat you up. But at the same time, why did you pick that? Of all the things you could have wore. And then, of course, then she tries to flip it back on me. Well, you told me I could wear whatever. I said, yeah, but I mean, have a little sense here. And she was a college student at that time, so I'm always like, what are they teaching you at that college? But it was all good, and she really got a chance to see, because being a media person, I got to talk to some of the guests that were there, so she got to sit there and like take pictures or just kind of listen in, and some of the people she recognized. So she was like, oh, so are you going to be talking to so and so? And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to, if there's time at his table, because other ones I'd actually set up ahead of time, like weeks in advance, like, okay, I got 10 minutes with this person, 10 minutes with this person, and the other ones were just on the fly. And one of the best people I ever talked to was Richard Keel, who played Jaws in 007 and Happy Gilmore. And boy, talk about stories. I mean, everything you can think of, from like the classic days to like Twilight Zone, Bonanza, any of those shows, he had a story for everything he'd been a part of. And he was like your favorite uncle or favorite grandpa kind of person. And I just remember he was saying, so what's your ethnic background? I said, well, I'm Japanese. And he said, oh, well, this time when I was in Japan, I was doing this. And he'd tell you all these stories. And at the end of it, I wanted to get a picture with him. And he looked at that friend that had the teddy bear. And he said, does your wife want a picture too? And I'm like, oh, no, she's not my wife. And said, that's an insult to her, not to me. Rest in peace, Richard. He was so one of my best memories of that particular convention. Actually, any guests I've interviewed at a convention, I had about 30 minutes with that man. Just wonderful. So that's great that you're going this year to Comic-Con and doing that. Have you gone to any of the other ones, like the one in Puyallup in the summer, like SummerCon or that kind of thing?
No, I wanted to. I see every year. I see they've got such amazing talent that comes, but unfortunately, I have a budget. And given infinite, of course, I would love to go. I've talked with one of these years. I really want to get down also to the Rose City Comic-Con, because there's a couple comic authors that are based out of Portland that go there a lot.
Okay.
But no, I want to spread out more. It's just a matter of funding.
I'm right there with you. I know how that goes, and you're right. That SummerCon's just been getting like bigger and bigger, and I know they have the horror convention that they do now in October. The same people run it, and I think they're doing that. What's that thing coming up in March? I think it's like called Throwback that they're doing for the first time. So they're bringing like 80s and 90s kind of people there. So they're really starting to kind of plant their roots into the convention community here. But I haven't been to any of them. I just saying like I see all the stuff coming and I'm kind of like, okay. And then depending on what you like to do, if you're someone who maybe wants to meet somebody, I know autographs cost and photo ops cost and just your entrance costs. And so it's like, well, if I went to Emerald City, I just spend all the money here and then do I have money for that? And can I pay my rent? And yeah. Even on the media side, I've always told people that I couldn't go to some of these shows, and there was a good point for like Phoenix and Driftwood and some of the other wonderful community theaters that if price is an issue for people that are watching this, there are things hopefully in your own community, if you're not here locally, that are affordable. It's shows that you can get to. There's a lot of pay what you can. They'll have like one performance. Typically, it might be a pay what you can. They might have a sliding scale sometimes, because I know if you're trying to go to the Paramount for Broadway at the Paramount, and you're trying to sit on the main floor, depending on the show, it might cost you over $200 a seat.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and I cover the Seattle Opera and Pacific Northwest Ballet, and it's like they do have, they're trying to make things affordable too, but it's still like, you're way in the back, you're way up in the third mezzanine, you're looking like this, and it's like that's not quite as fun as if you go to the Phoenix and you can be like anywhere and you have a great seat. I mean, and you can be like right there, you can see the actor spit. I mean, you can see all of it. So that's a free plug. And Ingrid brought up a really good point during her interview about, and theaters need volunteers. So there's another way for you to get involved. You may help volunteer, and then you get to sit down and see the show, and just sort of kind of get involved with your local community as well. So there's really no downside to it.
Absolutely. I ushered at shows so much growing up. Getting to see shows at the Children's Theater. Every year we couldn't afford to go see Christmas Carol at the Act, but we would usher it as a family every year.
Yeah, so that's awesome. I mean that you're doing that. My family, for whatever reason, I've talked to my mom about this, that she just didn't think to bring us, or thought maybe we wouldn't like stuff like that, because I was born and raised here too. So I didn't see Christmas Carol till I started doing media. And I said, I always knew it was here. I mean, they just had their 50th anniversary year last year in November, December. And some of these other theaters, Taproot's been around since the 80s. And it's just like, oh my God, Driftwood. I mean, they've been forever. And I'm like, man, all this stuff's been here like under my nose, and I just didn't really partake in it. So I'm really happy to do that. And that's why when I see people, and most of my friends know me, if they have a friend of a friend, so if you want to know about theater stuff, ask Mark. And I'm happy to talk about it, because I would like people to know more, because I was one of those people. I just didn't know about it. I had nothing against it, just didn't really know. So it's like, oh yeah, where do you live? Oh, you got this here if you're down south, if you're at center stage, or if you're over here, if you go up north. And I don't know all of them, but I know something. So I can try to get things going, and Phoenix is definitely one of them. So, just real slight thing. One of the pictures that you sent me, you were wearing like a Crystal Lake.
Yep. So
are you a horror fan too, or just?
Yes, I haven't seen as many as I would like to, but I'm a big fan of like the 80s slasher movies. And more, and more proper horror as well. But that's my first love is always to the slashers.
Okay. What's like the most, doesn't have to be like new 2026, but what's the maybe new to you horror film that you really liked?
I went to go see Nosferatu. And I often don't go see the horror in theaters, right? I like having a little bit more control of the space for it. But I went to go see Nosferatu on IMAX, and it was incredible. I loved it.
That's awesome. I didn't see it in IMAX, but I did see it in the theater. And I'm also like you. It's pretty rare when I go to a theater for a horror film, because it's just like some of them are so gnarly that I'm like, oh, I don't know if I need to see this on a big old screen. Or like you said, I can control the environment. I can pause it. I can turn it off when I'm here at home. The last thing I saw was probably Terrifier 3. And Art the Clown, and talk about gnarly. I mean, on a big screen. But I grew up with the slasher films from the 80s, because that's how old I am. And we had basically like a pirate system to get cable back then. So where I lived in Kirkland at the time with my family. And I remember a bunch of the neighborhood kids. We were all over, and we're watching the first Friday the 13th. And it's kind of a snowy picture, but we could still make out what was going on. at that time, I had not seen Carrie or some of these other films that maybe had that surprise ending thing. So seeing that one, I thought, oh, everything's good. And she's there floating around in the canoe on the lake and all that, and then Jason comes out and scared the shit out of me. I'm just scared the crap.
Absolutely.
I remember I was kind of sitting at the edge of the sofa and I like banged my knee on the coffee table because it scared me so much. I saw number 3, the 3D one in the theater, and I saw number 6 in the theater. The rest of them, I think I got up and watched it at home on VHS or something. But I always have a soft spot for horror things. And do you have a couple favorites overall from horror that you like?
So, I mean, talking about Friday the 13th, the joke I like to make is the first one is actually good. It's the good one. And then the third one's my favorite. But I'm a big fan of Friday the 13th. Got a big soft spot in my heart for the Child's Play movies. Especially the newer ones that they made with Fiona Dourif in the lead. Those I think were really good and really underrated.
Okay, yeah, those are really, really good. Have you seen the documentary about Chucky and the whole?
I haven't.
That's well worth a watch. That's one thing I did get to review before it came out, and I didn't know a lot of the backstory about the character and everything else, but they talked to so many of the actors through the years through those films, and that was a good one. And I do remember seeing Nightmare on Elm Street, the first one, in the theater. What a concept, that once you go to sleep, which everyone's going to do at some point, now you're completely vulnerable to this, crazed slasher dude coming in your dreams.
And that's actually a funny one because I avoided that one for so long because of that, like, oh man, if I'm afraid to go to sleep, I've already got anxiety. I don't know. And then I watched it, and I think it's a great example of the difference of when it came out versus now. Because, I'm watching like, oh, I can tell how in the 80s this would have been terrifying. But I'm especially on like a big screen, but I'm sitting here in my living room watching Robert Englund jump out of an obvious hiding spot and go blah. And I was laughing for half of it.
That's true. Depending on when you saw it, I remember being back at my parents' house when I saw it in the theater that I think, I've seen so many horror films, this isn't going to bother me. And then as soon as I turn my lights out and I'm just kind of laying there, I'm like, oh shit. And I think I saw a couple of the Halloweens in the theater. I know I didn't see the first one. That was kind of before my time. Actually, the second one was too. But I saw Hellraiser in the theater with Pinhead in, I think, 87. That was at the Overlake Theater. And there used to be these, the old Crossroads in Bellevue theater. Used to have, before they closed their doors and then they built a new one in the back that's still there. They used to do double features at their last days. And that's why I saw Evil Dead 2 in the theater. I saw Reanimator in the theater. And so I think about that now, like, man, some of those movies are so gross and so gnarly.
I found out about that Evil Dead 2 is very different from Evil Dead 1. I found that out the hard way. Because it was like, I think it was October or something. My wife and I were trying to pick a movie to watch. I'm like, oh, Evil Dead. It's funny. It's Bruce Campbell. It'll be great. And we watched the movie. We finished it. We watched all of it. And then as the credits were rolling, I'm like, I'm gonna find some Veggie Tales or something. We need to clean a little bit.
I think any horror fan knows that feeling when you need to balance out what you just watched with something really wholesome or funny or whatever, because you're just like, you just feel like a coat of film over you, like, oh, that was so gross. And that's true. That one, I remember we rented Evil Dead, the original one, and made on a low budget and all that for those that haven't seen it. But yeah, some of the scenes and just the concepts in that thing were just so, like, especially at the time, were so over the top and so gross.
Oh yeah.
Then the second one has the black humor in it and everything. So the tone was different, and then Army of Darkness, they kind of continued it. But that first one is just like, ooh, what is this? And I've had some of that experience that you're talking about too. Maybe something that I missed back in the '80s. So I've watched it in the last couple of years. Like, oh, I've heard about this one, but I never got around to ever seeing it. So I try to watch it. And some of them hold up, and some of them are like, oh man, this is this is kind of goofy, and in a good way, and sometimes in a not so good way, depending. Yeah, I think it's funny. I had this interview that I did many years ago. And I was probably like, maybe it was during the pandemic, and I was talking about horror and talking about horror conventions, but I don't enunciate like an average person or someone who's an actor. So I was saying horror, so it sounded like horror to them. So they're like, "You went to a horror convention, Mark?" and I'm like, "What?" I said, "Oh no, horror, HORROR," and they're like, "Oh, okay." We were like, what kind of convention is that? And where's he live again? It was the Soap Girls. It's a sister duo down in South Africa. That's what that comment came from. So that's why every time I say it now, because of that, I try to say horror or horror. I try to slow myself down because of that. Yeah, we don't have horror conventions that I know of.
I mean, it is Seattle.
Yeah, that's true. You never know. You can always bop down to Portland, keep it weird. So, but James, it has been awesome talking with you and getting to know about your background. And also, again, your show is going through the 22nd for all the locals here at the Phoenix Theater. And when I last looked, I think there was a couple tickets. It is Valentine's Day, so I think there's only a couple tickets for today. But there may have, or was tomorrow sold? One of them was already sold out. I know.
Tomorrow is sold out. Last I heard, and from what I heard, it's sold out.
Okay.
We still have one more weekend after this one, and from what I've heard, there's still room there. Yeah, it's a great time.
There you go, folks. So you can go to the Phoenix Theater online. Again, if you're local, and again, if you're just local to your own community, spend a couple minutes and get on the internet and try to look into things and see what you can do if you want to get involved or just go check out something that maybe you haven't done before. We need people to keep supporting live events, period. Whatever that is, and just kind of find a little niche and maybe find out it's not for you. That's okay, but at least give it a try. I always try to be a proponent of everything. And for those that are local, again, go to the Phoenix, go to Driftwood, go to Taproot, as if there's all kinds of things that are going on here from all different levels, different price points. And if you ever have questions, you can always hit me up too. I'll be glad to give you recommendations. But again, James, thank you so much for taking the time, and everybody that's watching us, thank you. And I hope to see everyone sooner than later. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you.